Do you want to swap seats to make it look like
not
it's
really?
no,
They've kind of worked out we'll be in the same place, I guess. So yeah, now with Simon from Beholder, and now we're moving over to obviously Simon's other bits and bobs working at Bloodstock Festival.
Yes.
So to be honest with you, you kind of been involved with Bloodstock for what?
2009. So what's that?
3 years?
No, 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah. Since then, it's obviously grown out of, you know, in a great staged way, which I presume has always been the plan. To be honest, at certain levels, it's grown through to now. Where it's at this moment in time with the metal to the masses, which is actually probably best if you explain. For some people, might actually not have missed what metal to the masses is.
Okay.
So if you give us a rundown on.
Well, basically, it's Bloodstock's commitment to breaking music, to breaking metal, you know, primarily. In the respect that we do think that, you know, it gets a bit of a, it's got a bit of a hard time in getting itself out there. So what we do is we approach a number of venues, and it started off, as I say, 2009 for me personally. It started a couple of years prior to that, with something along the lines of 7 or 8 venues in the UK, whereby we asked them to run these events leading up to a final, whereby we go along as Bloodstock, judge it, throw out some goodies, and basically, you know, fly the banner for breaking music. As I say, sort of 2009 there was 8 venues. This year there's 22 venues, and it's not only in the UK now, but I've also branched it out into Romania, Croatia, Norway, and we have connections with Wacken Open Air and Metal Camp as well. So not only do bands stand a chance of winning a slot of Bloodstock, but if they came through the Metal to the Masses process, they get judged again with relation to playing Wacken the following year or Metal Camp the following year, which is great. I mean, you know, bands are not going to shy away from that, and I think it's really important that, you know, as a festival and as a, you know, an organisation, we do that, because, you know, kids are sort of the influxes that kids get nowadays, and the kind of things that sort of move kids away from starting up bands, and you know, the Xbox culture and the internet culture, and you know, there's a lot of things that are working against bands actually emerging. So we want to give them all the opportunities and all the, you know, all the leg up we can possibly do to say, look, you know, get a band together, because you know, it's important, because, you know, what starts from little acorns. You know, take for instance Evil. Now I know they didn't come through the Metal to the Masses, but they were one of the unsigned bands that played at Bloodstock, and I mean, they're flying high. They're flying high, and rightly so. And you know, by their own admission, they started out as a hobby, as a covers band, much like Beholder did. You know, that they were a covers band doing Metallica and Testament covers, you know, back in the day, and they're flying high. And you know, there's a lot of bands that, you know, warrant these breaks. That's the thing. You know, and I just don't think they're given the credence that they should be given, because at the end of the day, we need to look out for this music and give it a leg up, because if we don't fucking give it a leg up, nobody else will. The industry won't.
No, exactly.
The industry won't, I'm afraid, you know, because, you know, the industry is financially driven. So, you know, we need to work with the partners that we've got and make it happen for bands, because, you know, as I say, it's really important. Really important.
Well, that is one of the conversations we had before, was who are the next generation of bands to like Fields and go out and do these festivals. There's very little left. In a few years' time, most of the big bands are going to be at an age where they might not actually be worth watching if they're still playing. And
but the fact of the matter is that is down to record labels and the industry over the past sort of 10, 15, 20 years changing its remit totally. I mean, me and the missus were talking about this the other day. If you have this bollocks X Factor, right, and if Freddie Mercury walked on with his band on the X Factor, he'd have been fucking laughed off. He'd have been laughed off. Right, and if he was to get a record deal, right, the truth of the matter is they'd only get one album, because it wouldn't have sold that well, and the record label would walk away from it. And that is why you haven't got bands sort of building their credentials, building their knowledge of their music, building their sound, and becoming bigger bands. Because bands are literally in the door, and if it doesn't sell, it's gone. Pink Floyd talked about that. I mean, Dave Gilmour talked about that they were left alone for the first 3 albums. First 2 albums fell on their arse, and then they came out with some small selling album called Dark Side of the Moon. You know what I mean? Which kind of worked well for them. So, you know, and it worked well for the, you know, music in general. So it's something that I, you know, bang on about for probably too much, but you know, I do think labels. I appreciate that money is a big part of it, but labels do need to have the belief of a band, and not, you know, sign a band literally for the 1-2 record deal, but have a belief in a band and see it through to the end, because it will produce your headliners.
Yeah, sure.
You know.
Touching on another part of that as well with regards to the bands themselves, there are occasions when you put on bands in shows or whatever, and they presume that the promoter or everyone else will do the work for them.
Apathy.
That's the other part we've kind of got to, which I guess is what Metal for Masses helps towards as well, is by taking guys,
because
honest, you get amongst it.
Yeah, because we turn around to the promoters and say, okay, we want you to run this, as long as it's not pay to play, as long as, you know, it's run fairly.
Yeah.
Then we want you to run these shows, and there is quite stringent rules on how it's done. More so now than when we first started. It's quite you know, strict. But you know, but we do find that the bands that actually, once they get the booking, it's not a case of like putting up a Facebook events page and then just sitting back and going, "Where's my crowd?"
Yeah.
The bands that actually get off their arse and not only practice and rehearse and become the better band, but actually learn about networking, about getting off their arses, and about plugging themselves.
Sure.
They're going to stand a better chance.
Yeah.
Simply because they are understanding how it works, how the cogs of this fucking stupid industry work.
Sure.
And it isn't just a case that, you know, you get your book in and you turn up and expect the renter crowd to turn in.
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
There's a lot of other things that obviously Bloodstock's involved with. One of them things is the Sophie Lancaster.
Yeah.
Now, I know that's quite dear to your heart
Yep.
anyway, has always been. So I mean, again, people may have missed various little bits that have gone on in the world. So I mean, with the Sophie thing, you've actually have your own stage at Bloodstock named after this now, which is amazing. I know the family are involved to a point.
Yeah.
So I mean, as far as that is going, can you give us some sort of an update, or give us some, you know, any ideas of where that's actually at?
It's simply an ongoing thing that we're going to back. I think it was when I first joined Bloodstock was 2008. I now recall, because we played 2007. And it was not long, that was the first time we played there, and we just released the EP with Never Take Us Down on it, which was a song dedicated to Sophie. I then got embroiled in working for Bloodstock, and we talked about this whole Sophie affair. And for those that don't know, she was you know, a simple goth girl like so many kids are, who dressed in alternative clothing and was walking home one night and was mercilessly beaten to death by a bunch of fucking idiots, basically, simply because of the way she looked.
Sure.
You know, which is abhorrent in its own way, but the crazy thing about it is the fact that on the back of this, Sylvia, her mum, has brought out the whole Sophie movement, which is stamping out prejudice, hatred and intolerance everywhere. And basically she's taken this and you know, she's a woman of such fucking great strength. You know, I love her to pieces. And basically what she's doing is she's going into schools now and just saying that, you know, black, white, gay, lesbian, chav, whatever, you know, goth, it doesn't matter. Sure. It really doesn't matter, because, you know, at the end of the day, I famously said at Bloodstock 2009 on the main stage that we all piss in the same pot, which is probably not the right phrase to use, but that's the phrase I use, but it's the truth. Yeah. We are all one and the same. We all, you know, we all pay too much taxes. We all live under a hideous government. We all face pollution. You know, let's fight those things instead of fighting each other. And that's what Sylvia's done, and with the whole Sophie campaign. So, you know, that's something that we embraced at Bloodstock and said, look, you know, we are going to name a stage in memory of Sophie, and because Bloodstock is an alternative crowd. Yeah. You know, it by its nature of the music, by the nature of the whole festival, it's an alternative crowd, and God, I hope that remains so forever and a day, because, you know, it's a beautiful thing, and that's why it's such a great festival. Sure. It's because you get a melting pot of, you know, like-minded people, and that's how society needs to be, really, you know, and less and more tolerant of each other, you know, which I guess is hard, you know, on a day-to-day basis. It's really hard, you know.
It's difficult to be tolerant of each other.
Yeah, for sure it is. But you know, just that taking a step back and taking a breath and just going, you know, okay, you're into that, I'm into this. Let's just leave it at that. But you know, not cause waves over it. Let's just you know, carry on. Yeah.
I mean, there's a load of other things that Bloodstock have been related to over the years, from the very beginning in Derby in the assembly room. breaking bands as well. Some of them are, well, international major names like Nightwish, for instance, comes to mind. That came, I think, I can't even remember what year. I think it may have been year one or two of Bloodstock in Derby.
Yeah.
But there's a constant where bands are thinking, actually, I really could do with playing Bloodstock. I would like to play Bloodstock.
More so now. Yeah, definitely.
When it moved outside for the first time, must have been a huge step for the company. I mean, I was kind of involved then, and you weren't. And there's a few things that you can look back.
I've heard some scare stories.
There was some scare stories. I remember one where the stage started to blow away.
Yeah, I heard
and there was
that
that was a scary moment. But since then, obviously, the infrastructure. I could blame the caterer, but he's not here to help himself, is he? So, the infrastructure of the festival, especially the last couple of years, has changed. For when you drive past it now, there's the security fencing, the hoarding and stuff.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling it's actually not changed what happens inside. Where a lot of big festivals,
all the security fencing, the need for security, they're all things that, you know, come from teething problems.
sure, exactly.
You know, every year something can be improved.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And yes, security is one issue. We improve it every year on year because there's more people going there.
Yeah.
We can't be equatable for everybody in that field, so you need to put up, you know, sort of certain I don't know what the word is, but certain precautions,
Sure.
you know, to make sure. But yeah, I mean, you know, you say it's changed. Yeah, the stage has got bigger, the PA's got bigger, the layout's pretty much the same, and it's still a festival where you can get to any one stage within 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you haven't got to walk endlessly for miles, and you can always catch the band that you want to. Well, I say always, but you know, you mainly you try and catch the bands that you want to catch.
Do you think there'll ever be a time when Bloodstock itself becomes well, not too big, because nothing can be. It depends on your outlook of things. Do you think there'll ever be? Is there a cut-off point as far as the guys at Bloodstock are concerned?
What, in numbers wise?
As in numbers, it stops at.
That's not really been talked about. I don't think. I don't think so. You know, or I haven't been privy to that. I very much doubt that there is a cut-off point. I think. Will it change in respect of becoming the festival, sort of moving away from the festival it is now? I very, very much doubt it, because there's like-minded people that sort of are part of the committee and part of the infrastructure that are very secure on what we do, in the respect that, you know, we don't want to become a big corporate event, because you know, it doesn't suit the branding.
No.
And it doesn't suit the punters. You know, don't get me wrong, sponsorship and sort of endorsements and stuff like that are very important, but we don't want that to envelop the whole festival.
Yeah, because it would lose the idea of that for the fans, by the fans.
Oh, totally.
That's where a lot of other festivals that we won't.
It is a motto that is really relevant year on year, because, you know, with the whole sort of social networking thing, people get online and say, I had a great time, but.
Yeah.
You know, could we look at this next year? And you know, if we think it's a valid point, we'll look at it. You know, and that's a really important thing. It is a festival by the fans, for the fans, more so than any other.
Yeah, exactly.
More so than any other.
I think it always seems to have been that way as well, because you people do listen to what bands people want to come on. I mean,
we're all metal fans at the end of the day.
It's not a financial thing. Obviously, money's always got to be an integral part of anything. Otherwise, you die in your arse. But it's like with one of the things I was going to ask you about is the addition of bands such, there's a bit more known bands as headlining acts, like for instance Motorhead, and you've got Alice
Cooper, yeah.
I mean, that to me is a brilliant way of cross-pollinating the genre, really, because you have obviously your metal, your death metal, all the other genres, but now, because what you're doing, bringing that in, you're also kind of opening it up to Dave in the Street. Saying, actually, if you want to,
it's a case of opening it up to Dave in the Street, but it's also a case of the fact is they now look at Bloodstock differently. We don't necessarily, you know, we would have had Alice Cooper 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I'm sure of it. But they, you know, Alice Cooper probably, you know, and his camp probably looked at Bloodstock in a completely different light.
Yeah.
Now it is looked upon as a safe festival, a good festival, and a festival that sort of caters for metalheads.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So a lot of bands now are more inclined to go, that's the festival for us. Point in case, Devin Townsend.
Yeah.
You know, came the year before last, had a torrid time with getting all his gear on stage, only played for a short set, begged us, basically, to come back the following year because he said, this festival is great. Well, we're going to stand by that.
Of course you can. You can't do anything other than that, can you? And you've got another band coming back this year with...
If Devin's watching, I'm sure he didn't beg.
No,
not quite beg.
knees,
Sorry,
I'm sure,
Dave.
mate.
No, I'm sorry he didn't beg.
And it's like this year, Nurgle's coming back from last year. They couldn't play, so again, the doors are always nicely open with Bloodstock. A lot of festivals kind of go, "Whoa, you didn't do it last year, so you're going to have to wait your turn." It just seems to me
Nurgle's a prime example, isn't he? That someone that we're going to stand by.
Yeah.
Because he is, obviously went through a torrid time and couldn't play previous years. So now he's better. We're going to give him give him the platform he rightly deserves. So yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, finally, you need to kind of like whore your festival out to people. Let them know when it is, who's playing, and also just highlights for you, I guess. For you.
Well, off the top of my head, it's on the 10th to 12th of August with Behemoth, Watain, Corrosion of Conformity, Black Dahlia Murder, Alice Cooper, Paradise Lost, Hatebreed, Anvil, and many, many more. So get yourselves down to Catton Hall in Derbyshire and come and join the throng of metalheads. It makes sense.
Perfect. Well, Simon, thank you very much for your time, mate.